In what feels like a logical place to take off from her original precon, Amanatu is now back as a desparked planeswalker at the head of the Miracle Worker precon as Amanatu Veil Piercer. So let's get into this deck and see what we can do to make it a little bit more thematic as well as possibly a little bit stronger. Miracle Worker comes with two brand new to Commander Legends. Let's take a look at the aforementioned Amanatu Veil Piercer. For one, a white, a blue, and a black, you get a human wizard that says at the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 2, and each enchantment card in your hand has Miracle, and its Miracle cost is equal to its mana cost, reduced by 4. So we can use her upkeep trigger to stack our draw, which is kind of key to the second ability, which gives all the enchantments Miracle, which then gives a nice hefty 4 mana discount if we play them right away. Now remember, Miracle removes all the timing restrictions on these spells that have the ability because you have to cast them as you draw them to show that it was the first card drawn that turn. But that also means any instant speed draw can allow you to cast enchantments or any other Miracle spells on an opponent's turn or the Miracle cost. And then the other new commander is the Master of the Keys. For X white, blue, black, you get a horror with flying that says that when it enters, put X +1/+1 counters on it and mill twice X cards. Each enchantment card in your graveyard has escape, and the escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost, plus exiling 3 other cards from the graveyard, and it's a 3/3 by default. So the amount of enchantments in this deck, you should have no shortage of things you might want to bring back from the graveyard, and the Master of the Keys will let us get back not only what itself mills, but anything else that might have gotten blown up or countered early in the game as well. For now, we're going to make the changes with Amanatu in mind, but the Master of Keys is staying in the deck to help her out. The changes I've made here aren't grouped up in any particular way, but I'll be showing what I'm removing, why I'm doing that, and what I'm replacing it with in terms of the new cards. With that said, let's get started. Our first removal is going to be a card that depends on your opponents to be spell spammy, and I've never been very impressed by this particular card, which is Monologue Tax. This enchantment just does nothing if your opponents decide to play around it, and even then, you're only going to be netting 1 treasure off of it per turn. Often you'll net nothing because they are dumping all their mana into one big spell instead of spamming multiples. So that leads me to get some new cards in the deck, starting with Inquisitive Glimmer. This will help us discount our many enchantments in the deck and undiscount the cost of unlocking any of our doors that are in the deck, which then in the end is actually a more reliable way of netting mana by discounting the spells over the course of the game instead of hoping your opponents will oblige you and let you make the treasures. Now, I hate to cut the next card on my list here, but Amanatu's Augury just doesn't fit what we're trying to do with this deck, which is the Miracle stuff. We have so many enchantments that we're likely going to bury a lot of them trying to use this, and we're not going to get many hits off of the Augury, which means it really kills the value for how expensive it is to cast the spell. So instead, I'm going to slot in a new enchantment in the form of Fear of Abduction. This gives us a form of removal which works with Amanatu's Miracle discount, meaning you could be smiting some big stuff for 2 white mana while getting the benefits of it being an enchantment, and the 5/5 body is decent as well, giving you a nice threat. Next out of the deck is Read the Bones. It's not a bad card, but I want to make more room for Duskmourn cards, and that leads me to slot in Victor Valgavoth's Seneschal. This allows us to have more enchantment synergies in the deck. The first time an enchantment enters, we get a Surveil 2, which lets us stack up the deck a little bit more for Amanatu's triggers. If it happens again, each opponent loses a card out of their hand, and then a third time lets us reanimate creatures from any graveyard, not just our own. And with Amanatu's Miracle discount, it isn't hard for us to hit at least 2, if not all 3 of these eerie triggers off of Victor. Moving along, we have another spell that's just far too expensive and difficult to cast unless you hit it with its Miracle cost, and that is Entreat the Angels. It's an alright card, but more often than not, it's going to clutter up your hand more than it actually gets cast. So instead, we're going to go ahead with a more enchantment synergy focus with Hallowed Haunting, which incidentally just got a special guest reprint in the main set with art focused on Duskmourn. It's a pretty straightforward card. You get to 7 enchantments and all your stuff gets to fly and have vigilance. And the caster can actually replicate kind of what you're doing with Entreat, creating tokens, making this a really good swap out. It's really amazing though how some of our favorite cards have simply been power crept, but sad to say Dream Eater lands firmly in that conversation when compared to the more thematic replacement I have in mind. I have a lot of love for this card in my Muldrotha deck, but here it's just okay. We have access to a new enchantment creature that can be discounted with Amanatu, and it gives us draw options with Overlord of the Flood Pits. And even then, if we can't miracle it out, we can just cast it for its impending cost, still net the benefits of it being an enchantment as well. And then our last cut is just another okay flyer with Prognostic Sphinx. Yes, it scries 3 on attack, but it just lacks something for me, and I want to get one more card from the main set into this deck to really get the deck more thematic, and that's Ghostly Dancers. For the same mana value, we're going to get a creature that can get back an enchantment or unlock a locked door for us, and it has an eerie trigger that creates 3/1 spirit tokens, which then synergize with the second part of Hallowed Haunting that we slotted in the deck just a few minutes ago, making it a choice that I like just that much better. So that's what I have for the Miracle Worker Precon. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments down below. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.